In the shadowed valleys of a war-torn land, where the air hung heavy with the scent of gunpowder and earth, Sergeant Elena Voss gripped the controls of her armored tank. Her name, whispered like a gentle breeze through ancient oaks, belied the steel in her veins. At 32, Elena had once been a teacher in a quiet village, her days filled with the laughter of children and the soft rustle of pages in storybooks. But war had a way of reshaping souls, turning dreamers into warriors. The mission was clear: advance through the enemy lines under the cover of dusk. Her tank, a hulking beast named Thunderheart, rumbled forward, its cannon poised like a predator's fang. Beside her, in the infantry ranks pushing ahead, was Private Alexander Hale, a young man of 24 with eyes as deep as midnight oceans. Alexander's name evoked the strength of ancient kings, yet his heart carried the fragility of a poet. He had joined the fight not for glory, but to protect his little sister back home, Sophia, a 9-year-old girl whose name meant wisdom, though her world was painted in the innocent hues of wildflowers and fairy tales. As the first stars pierced the darkening sky, the order came crackling over the radio: fire at will. Infantry, move forward. Elena's hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of what lay ahead. She sighted the distant ridge where enemy silhouettes danced like ghosts. With a thunderous roar, Thunderheart unleashed its fury. Shells exploded in brilliant plumes of fire, lighting the night like fallen stars. The ground shook, and Alexander, crouched low with his squad, felt the earth pulse beneath his boots. He glanced back at the tank, catching a glimpse of Elena through the narrow viewport. They had met in basic training, two strangers bound by shared silence. Alexander admired her quiet resolve. She saw in him the brother she had lost to an earlier conflict. As the infantry surged ahead, dodging craters and debris, Alexander's mind wandered to Sophia. She had sent him a drawing before deployment, a stick-figure family under a rainbow, with a note: "Come home soon. Alex, I miss your stories." The advance was brutal. Bullets whizzed like angry hornets, and the air filled with shouts and the acrid smell of smoke. Elena fired again, her shots precise, carving a path for the foot soldiers. One shell struck an enemy bunker, silencing its machine gun nest. Alexander's squad reached the first objective, securing a ruined farmhouse. He pressed his back against the crumbling wall, heart pounding, and whispered a prayer for Elena's safety. In that moment, amid the chaos, he felt a flicker of hope, a bond forged in fire, unbreakable. But war spared no illusions. As the infantry consolidated, a hidden sniper's bullet grazed Alexander's arm, drawing blood. He gritted his teeth, bandaging it quickly. Elena, from her perch, saw the flash and retaliated with a barrage that turned the sniper's position to rubble. The night deepened, and with it the weight of survival. Elena thought of her own lost dreams, a family she had never started, a life interrupted. Yet in protecting Alexander and his like, she found purpose. The first part of the battle ended in uneasy quiet, but the real storm brewed within their hearts. Dawn broke like a shattered promise, painting the battlefield in hues of crimson and gold. Elena maneuvered Thunderheart through the scarred terrain. Her crew, a tight-knit trio of mechanics and gunners working in silent harmony. The infantry, led by Alexander, pressed on toward the enemy stronghold, a fortified hill that loomed like a sentinel of doom. Sophia's name echoed in Alexander's mind like a lullaby, urging him forward. Back home, she waited in their modest cottage, her small hands clutching a locket with his photo, whispering stories to her dolls about brave knights and enchanted tanks. The air grew thick with tension as reconnaissance reported enemy reinforcements. "Hold the line," the commander barked. Elena's tank positioned itself at the vanguard, its engine growling defiance. As the infantry advanced in staggered formation, weaving through minefields and barbed wire, the first enemy salvo erupted. Tanks on the horizon belched fire and shells rained down like apocalyptic hail. Elena fired relentlessly, her cannon booming in rhythmic fury. Each shot was a declaration: "I will not yield." One enemy tank exploded in a fireball, its turret spinning into the air. Alexander, dodging shrapnel, led his squad to flank the position. His wound from the night before throbbed, but adrenaline masked the pain. He thought of Elena, her fierce grace, the way she commanded respect without raising her voice. In stolen moments during lulls, they had shared stories. She of her village school, he of Sophia's boundless imagination. A direct hit rocked Thunderheart, the impact jarring Elena's bones. Smoke filled the cabin, alarms blaring. "We're hit." "Stabilize," she shouted, her voice steady amid panic. Her gunner, wounded but determined, reloaded. Outside, Alexander saw the smoke and charged forward, his squad providing cover fire. "Elena, hold on!" he yelled into the radio, his words cutting through the din. In a surge of courage, Alexander's team neutralized an anti-tank crew. Buying time for repairs, Elena emerged from the hatch, her face smudged with soot, eyes blazing with gratitude. Their gazes met across the battlefield, a silent vow. But the enemy pressed harder. Infantry clashed in hand-to-hand combat, bayonets flashing. Alexander fought like a lion, protecting a fallen comrade. His thoughts on Sophia. I promised I'd return, for her stories, for her smiles. As the sun climbed higher, the tide turned. Elena's repaired tank unleashed a devastating volley, demolishing the enemy line. The infantry claimed the hill, but victory came at a cost. Bodies littered the ground, friends lost forever. In the aftermath, Alexander found Elena leaning against Thunderheart, exhausted but alive. "We made it," he said softly. She nodded, tears tracing paths through the grime. "For those we love," she replied. Yet deep down they knew the war's shadow lingered, threatening to engulf their fragile hopes. With the hill secured, the battalion regrouped under a sky heavy with clouds. Elena and Alexander shared a brief respite in a makeshift camp. The distant rumble of artillery, a grim reminder of unfinished battles. Sophia's spirit hovered over them like a guardian angel. Alexander pulled out her drawing, now crumpled and stained, and showed it to Elena. "This is why I fight," he confessed. Elena smiled faintly, her heart aching for the child she might never meet. "She's got your eyes full of wonder," she said. But peace was fleeting. Intelligence revealed a counterattack brewing at twilight. "We push forward one last time," the order came. Elena climbed back into Thunderheart, her resolve hardened. Alexander, bandaged and weary, rallied his squad. As the sun dipped low, the assault began. Tanks fired in unison, infantry advancing in their wake, a symphony of destruction and determination. Enemy fire intensified, turning the field into a maelstrom. Elena's tank took point, shelling fortified positions. A massive explosion nearby flipped a friendly vehicle, trapping survivors. Alexander, without hesitation, led a rescue under heavy fire. Bullets tore at the earth around him, but he pulled 2 soldiers to safety. "Go, I'll cover," Elena radioed, her cannon roaring protectively. In the chaos, a mortar shell struck close to Alexander, knocking him down. Pain exploded in his side, vision blurring. Elena saw it happen and maneuvered Thunderheart closer, using its bulk as a shield. She leaped out, defying protocol, and dragged him behind cover. "Stay with me, Alex," she urged, her voice breaking. He coughed, blood on his lips, but managed a weak smile. "Tell Sophia. Her brother loves her. And you, fight on, Elena." Medics arrived, stabilizing him as the battle raged. Elena returned to her post, channeling grief into fury. Her final shots shattered the enemy command center, forcing a retreat. The field fell silent, victory claimed through sheer will. Days later, in a field hospital, Alexander awoke to Elena by his side. "We won," she whispered. He nodded, grasping her hand. Back home, Sophia received the news. Her brother was coming home, with a new story of a brave woman named Elena. The war had scarred them, but it had also woven their lives together. In the quiet aftermath, amid rebuilding ruins, they found love, a powerful testament to resilience. Tank firing while infantry moved forward. It was more than a tactic. It was the heartbeat of survival, echoing in their souls forever.